Haristuti, Shloka 12. Sarvatraste sarvashariri nacha sarvaha sarvam vetyeveha nayam vetihi sarvaha sarvatrantaryamitayetham yamayan yas tam samsara dhvanta vinasham harimide. Anvaya. Sarvatra aste sarvashariri cha sarvaha na iha sarvam veti eva cha sarvam yam na veti sarvatra itham yamayan yaha antaryamitaya asti. You have to include the word asti. Tam samsara dhvanta vinasham harimide. The verb asti is not there in the original, but it is understood. So we'll look at the base meaning. Sarvatra aste, in the form of all pervading consciousness, that which exists as the content of everything. Sarva shariri cha, and one to whom all the body forms belong. Then sarvaha na, yet that which is not known as all, because it is the one in whom everything abides. Then iha sarvam veti evacha, in this world the one who knows everything. Sarvam yam na veti, but to all the objects one who is not known. Sarvatra itham yamayan, in this way one who is the sustainer of everything. Yaha antaryamitaya, one who is as the indweller of everything. Tam samsara dhvanta vinasham harim ide, I worship that Hari, the destroyer of ignorance which causes samsara. There is a story in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It is in the form of a dialogue with King Janaka and Yajnavalkya. Then there are also other sages. Now King Janaka was a great scholar. He was a knower of all the Shastras. At one time he wanted to do a yajna. After gaining jnanam, atma jnanam, actually one doesn't have to do any karma. But then in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, Loka sangrahamevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. Even if we don't gain or benefit from an action, because people have to be protected from falling into unbecoming ways. So, even though Atma Jnani, the king, has to do certain value-based activities. In other words, one must do swakarma to set an example to the future generations. The Vedas teach us basically the way to live, how to live righteously, iti. So for the good of society, Janaka started to do a yaga. Now it was a very big yaga which involves a lot of expense. So it cannot be done by ordinary people. So as a king, he was undertaking this. In one such yaga, all the people from Kuru Panchala Desha came. It is said, Anahuto adhvaram gachet. Even without invitation, one is expected to go and participate in a yaga which is performed for social harmony. Janaka saw that his assembly was filled with Vaidika scholars, Veda Panditas, and then he became very happy. Now, studying and assimilating knowledge is one thing, and teaching or sharing knowledge is a different thing. There is a word in Shastram, anuchanamani. It means one who can share and teach the knowledge which he has learned and assimilated in such a way that the listeners will understand and want to come back to learn. So they will be inspired. So now Janaka wished to see who is an anuchanamani in his sabha, in his yaga sabha. So he brought 1,000 cows, with each cow having plenty of gold with it. And that gold is said to have been tied with the cows. And it was announced among the scholars, whoever considers himself an anuchanamani can take these cows. Now the Brahmanas gathered there did not come forward to claim it. Now, how to go and say, I am the best Veda Pandita? So at that time, Yajnavalkya loudly called out for his student, Hey Samashrava. And then hearing Yajnavalkya's voice, all the Panditas there, they said, Oh, he is a knower of all the 4 Vedas. Now this word Samashrava is a very special word. It's not a name of a student. When the Acharya addresses his Sishya as Samashrava, it has a lot of meaning. That means that student is learning Samaveda from that teacher, from that Acharya. Now, it is a known fact among the Vaidikas that one who knows Samaveda will also be knowing Rigveda. Then, Yajnavalkya is the one who brought Yajurveda from Devaloka. Yajnavalkya is a very distinct sage. There is an interesting story as to how Yajnavalkya brought Yajurveda from Devaloka. When Vyasa classified the Vedas into 4, he gave Yajurveda to his Shishya Vaishampayana. And then he handed over the responsibility of teaching Yajurveda to the students. Vaishampayana is said to be related to Yajnavalkya. Now, Yajnavalkya as a Shishya studied under Vaishampayana. After studying, once Yajnavalkya asked Vaishampayana, Yajurveda has the Samhita portion and the Brahmana portion mixed up. That is, the poetry and the prose portion are mixed up. So, O Guru, shall I separate and classify them? Iti Yajnavalkya is said to have asked Vaishampayana. Hearing that, Vaishampayana became very angry and said, what is the rule mentioned firstly before learning a varna or a swara in the Veda? Whatever it is, it has to be kept as is and not changed. So, knowing this, Vaishampayana is telling Yajnavalkya, knowing this, you are asking to separate and classify? Even such a thought occurred to you is very wrong. So, you go away from here. Which means, and then also Vaishampayana said Yajnavalkya must teach at least one student and then go away. He wanted Yajnavalkya to leave the Gurukula. Veda studied must not remain within oneself. It must be shared. It is said, Adhihi bodhacharana pracharanaihi. One has to study, understand, and then practice teaching without expecting anything from the Shishyas. So teaching has to be unconditional without expectations. Now this is a vidhi for each and everyone. So Vaishampayana said, you teach once and then go away. Then Yajnavalkya thought, now that Guru is saying this, I am not going to be taught anymore. But there was lots more to be learned. So Yajnavalkya did Surya Upasana. Lord Surya blessed Yajnavalkya and asked him, what do you want? So Yajnavalkya said, I have studied the Katha Shakha and then the Taittiriya Shakha, and in this the Brahmana portion and Samhita portion are mixed up. I want to separate it and then teach it, but my Guru refused to let me do that. And so I am not going to be taught anymore further. Iti Yajnavalkya told Surya and asked Surya Bhagavan to teach him. So then Surya Bhagavan said, I have to keep moving, and that is very mandatory for me. If you can come with me, then I can teach you. To that, Yajnavalkya said that in the Gurukula, we stayed with the Guru and learned. Similarly, I will go with you. I have Yoga Shakti, I will come behind you, I will follow you. So like that, Yajnavalkya with his Yoga Shakti kept going behind Surya Bhagavan, and it seems like that Yajnavalkya learned 21 shakhas of the Yajurveda. Of them, today we have only 2 shakhas, 2 branches, known as Kanva Shakha and Madhyandina Shakha of the Shukla Yajurveda. So from this story, what do we understand? We understand that there is no doubt Yajnavalkya knows Yajurveda. So like this, he knows Rigveda, Samaveda and Yajurveda. And of course it is said by scholars that the same mantras which are there in these 3 Vedas, some of them are said to be in Atharvana Veda also. So basically, how to practically apply certain mantras for specific rituals, that is said to have been selected from these 3 Vedas and given in the Atharvana Veda. So the point here is, when Yajnavalkya called out his Shishya by mentioning, Hey Samashrava, from that itself all the Brahmanas there understood that Yajnavalkya knows all the 4 Vedas. That is the greatness of Yajnavalkya. So then Yajnavalkya told his Shishya, take all these 1,000 cows and tie them in our shed. The student followed the Guru's order. Then the Brahmanas there asked, O Swami, how do you proclaim yourself as the great scholar, as a Brahmishta? So then Yajnavalkya said, wherever or whoever is a Brahmishta, I am willing to do namaskara to that person. I am not saying that I am the Brahmishta here, but the king has tied the cows and no one is coming forward from this assembly. So the king is likely to think that in this village there is no Brahmishta at all. So therefore I made the claim. And then Yajnavalkya says, so you all together ask any question and I am willing to answer whatever I know. Or if anyone else is the Brahmishta here, let them take it. Iti Yajnavalkya made his mind known to everyone. Yajnavalkya knew all the 4 Vedas and he was humble also. So then in that assembly, these many scholars, Ashwalaha, Ushastaha, Kaholaha and many others, they all asked questions, and Gargi also asked some questions. As the discussion extended to a kind of an unacceptable range, that means in an assembly, certain questions cannot be asked and answered. So then at that point, Yajnavalkya stopped her from questioning further by saying that any more questions will lead to disaster. Then he says, Brahman, which is not reachable by the mind and words, cannot be spoken about in an assembly in public. It is a truth which is to be known from a guru. So then to that, Gargi, she very smartly sought permission from the Brahmanas, and then she questioned further. Yajnavalkya also answered by putting the onus of answering on the Brahmanas. He would say, they say this, they say that, like that. He won't say, I say this. So then, like that, in that dialogue, Brahman is to be meditated upon as Antaryami. He is the content of everything that is known to us. That is explained in the form of dialogue. So that Antaryami Vishnu is praised in this shloka. Sarvatraste means that Brahman who is all pervading and present everywhere in everything, in all the beings, which is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan says, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati. The Lord remains at the seat of the intellect of all beings, O Arjuna. He says, so that is sarvatra aste. Further, that Brahman is in every shariram. Sarva shariri. Now, because it is that Brahman who is in every shariram, in Sanatana Dharma, we are taught to say namaste when we greet each other. So we are actually bowing down to that Brahman who remains in each and every being. So sarva shariri nacha sarvaha. He, Brahman, obtains in every being. As karma phala data, he causes them to experience sukha and dukkha. In life, that is in daily living, our free will can be expressed only in limited situations. Praying, doing some daily chores, these are free will. When we fall sick, we cannot choose to not feel pain or suffer. That is inevitable. You have to go through the pain. It is prarabdha karma. So the point is, we cannot call all the shots in life. So in this analysis, we can understand that Ishvara is in every being. He is sarva shariri. But he is not all. Nacha sarvaha. In the sense that our karma decides many unforeseen situations and circumstances that we have to face. Sarvaha nacha. Because Brahman is the Chaitanyam, consciousness, in whom everything abides. So, the objects which are inert, they do not know Brahman. But Brahman is Sarvam Veti. He knows everything. Now you just think about this. You do all actions knowingly. You are aware of everything you do, isn't it? So Brahman is the mind of your mind and is watching you doing all the actions with awareness, with mindfulness. Then Sarvam veti eva iha na yam veti cha sarvaha. He knows everything. So, always knowing everything, Brahman does not have any ignorance. But then, he is not known by anyone. Now, Bhagavan knows all actions of every jiva, the kritam and akritam. the actions which are done in keeping with dharma or adharma, and so the punya and papa karma of all the jivas are known to Brahman. Now when it is said sarvam veti, Bhagavan knows all, it means he has neither self-ignorance like you and me, nor does he have any ignorance about any object. There is nothing that is unknown to him, either generally or in detail. Why is that? How do we understand this? Na yam veti iti. For this, there is a good example. Now we know that electricity is present in all the wires, but we cannot see it. Only in the form of an effect it can be known. That is, when a light bulb is switched on, then we see that it burns. Then we know that there is electricity flowing through the wire. Or when you switch on a fan and it starts running, then the presence of electricity is known. Otherwise, we cannot know the presence of current. So, Brahman, he knows everything, but we all don't know. So then, who is it that knows him? So, Taittiriya Upanishad says, Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. He is the one who knows. When he knows that Brahman resides in the intellect within the space of the heart. Parame Vyoman, the space of the heart. In what form is Brahman in the space of the heart? Sarvatra Antaryamitaya. As the indweller, he, Brahman, is present everywhere. Itham yamayan yaha. Thus, he inspires, motivates everyone to perform action, and he sustains creation. So, tam samsara dhvanta vinasham harimide. I worship that Hari. So, here in this shloka, Brahman as the indweller of all the beings is worshipped. That is, the Antaryami Tattvam, which is told in a whole chapter in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, is told here in this one verse. Such is the distinction of Adi Shankaracharya's compositions. Sarvatraste sarvashariri nacha sarvaha sarvam vetyeveha nayam vetihi sarvaha sarvatrantaryamitayetam yamayan yaha tam samsara dhvanta vinasham harimide. Namaste.